Hello and welcome to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. My name is John Christopher. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. We're here every single Friday, 12 noon Eastern time, to help you understand the technical side of the real estate industry so you can mastermind and grow your real estate business. We are live, so let me know what questions you have or any feedback on any of this information so we can make it more personalized to you. And if you're watching it live or watching the replay, hit the thumbs up button if you like this topic so we know to do more content about working with buyers, buyer agreements, getting agreements from your clients, getting signatures, all that type of information that's essential information to building a successful real estate career. We want to help you build that every which way it is that we can. Got a really exciting show for you today. My name is John Christopher. You're watching State of Real Estate.
You are watching
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate.
You are watching
Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. My name is John Christopher, and this show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. We're here again every single Friday. But let's get into today's topic, which what we're talking about today is buyer agreements. And more specifically, what probably is the buyer agreement most likely I'm referring to is going to be the buyer brokerage agreement. But even if you're not necessarily getting an actual formal contract signed with a buyer, what type of agreements are you making with a buyer or a potential buyer? You know, what agreements are you making with your leads and your prospects and people from your sphere of influence? Because if you want to get to these big agreements here, these are the agreements that get you paid, but if you're not making all the little agreements along the way, you're never going to get to these big agreements to get yourself paid. So, what I want to really do today is just break down a couple things and share with you a few tips about buyer brokerage agreements to help you better understand, and not just the buyer brokerage agreement, but to understand making an agreement. You know, let's talk about that word agree. Because if we want an agreement, we must agree. Now, how do you know when you agree with somebody? How do you know when somebody is on the same page with you? Well, if you're, just whipping out a contract and you haven't really talked to them much, and all of a sudden there's a contract that you're trying to get them to sign, but they don't have anything where they already agree with you, if there's not already prerequisite agreements, it's going to be extremely difficult to get a very formal legal agreement with anybody. So when they say that real estate is a people business, it's not really. It's more so a relationship business. A relationship business. And when I say a relationship business, meaning that if you don't establish any good quality relationships with your prospects, with your potential clients, you're not going to get any potential clients. You're not going to get any real clients if you don't establish a relationship. Now, let's say you're trying to manage these ingredients here. You know you need people, so you're like, okay, I know people. Check. People, check. I got the people. But what about the relationships? Well, what do you mean? You mean like they trust me, or I talk to them, I stay in touch with them, I'm, being friendly other than just trying to sell them something? Or you probably have a lot of people that you already have this type of relationship with. And for new leads, you got to build that relationship, which could kind of be weird and awkward if you don't have a system about this, which is why it's great to begin with people where you already have a relationship. That's why your sphere of influence, your contacts, your people it is that you already know. And look, all you need is a Florida real estate license to earn referral fees nationwide. You know, if you've got a person anywhere that you've got a relationship with, you could potentially earn a referral fee, not necessarily for you selling them a home, because if they're not doing it in Florida and all you have is a Florida real estate license, you can't sell them a home outside of Florida, but you could earn a referral fee while another brokerage sells them that home in whatever jurisdiction it is that they're licensed in, where they're buying that home. And you can even refer that business out within the state. So referrals are like just such a ridiculous way to grow your real estate business. Just such a great way to earn extra money. There's brokerages you could join as a new agent that are referral fee only brokerages. So if you've got the people, if you've got the relationships, we've got one more missing ingredient here. And then next thing it is that we need is agreement. We need people. We need to have a relationship with those people, and then we need to get an agreement with those people. So we get the people, we build a relationship with them, and then we get agreement. Now, so many sales professionals, and let me make myself big here so you can see, you know, my professionals. What I mean when I say that is they're not really doing things to the best of their abilities to where they could, because a lot of these professionals try to, maybe they just think that they're so good that they could do this all in one phone call, in one meeting, in one interaction. You're not. You might meet a person in that one interaction, but if it's the first time you're meeting that person, it's going to take you a few times being in communication with them to have a relationship. And look, there's a such thing as a long distance relationship. So the phone can help facilitate long distance relationships, even if these people are not in your own backyard, or maybe they're moving to Florida from another part of the country. You know, that's one of the things a lot of people come to us and they'll say, hey, look, I'm new to Florida. I'm brand new to Florida. I don't know anybody here. Can I be successful in real estate? And the answer is, of course, anyone can be successful in real estate regardless of the situation or circumstances. It's just the strategy used to approach your specific situation and circumstances. But let's say you are new to Florida and you don't know anybody here. I would doubt that, because I don't think like you're fresh here, like you just got in, like this is your first day, this is day one in Florida. Because if it's not day one in Florida, think of all the people it is you've just interacted with. And those are all people that now they check the box of, hey, they're people, I've got people. Right there. Now, you might not have a relationship with them yet, so this might still be pending, the relationship, and that takes time. And the good real estate professionals, the true professionals, know that these relationships take time, which is why they focus on having more people. You know, if we're going to try to make this look like a funnel, a sales funnel, you know, we're talking about lots of people funneling down to fewer relationships, trickling down into the actual agreements. And so the more people you fill up in this funnel, the more relationships you'll be able to have, the more agreements you'll be able to get. But if you're not putting any people in this funnel, you're not going to get to relationships, you're not going to get to agreements. So even if you are brand new to the area, it's just going to take a little bit longer to capitalize on people who you don't have a relationship yet. But let me ask you this, if you are new, are you new to planet Earth? Are you new to people in general? Who do you know wherever it is that you came from? And do they know, well, before we talk about what they know about you, do you have a relationship with them? This could be family, this could be friends, whether it's from high school, college, cousins, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, third removed, half-step cousins, whatever it is. If they're people that you could have a relationship with, I would encourage you to lean into that relationship. And this goes the same for even if you're working with complete strangers. Because this is very much a relationship business, and who's going to trust somebody with the biggest purchase of their lifetime if you're a complete stranger to them? So the relationship is such an important, essential, key component of a successful real estate business. And that's really the big thing that stands between, there being some sort of app for real estate or just some big conglomerate organization, because it doesn't have that same personalized one-to-one type of service that somebody really needs in such a complicated and confusing, expensive situation. The mistakes that could be made by somebody not having good advising could be very costly. But look, you're going to be a professional. You're going to know what it is that you're doing. The actual, believe it or not, here's the thing. A lot of people come to us and they're super freaked out about real estate. They're like, oh, what if I mess something up? And look, don't get me wrong. There's things that can be messed up. There's things that could cost money. There are mistakes that can be made. But in the grand scheme of things, if you look at like those percentage of mistakes and errors, really, if you have good guidance, training, support from your brokerage, we're here to help you understand this as much as we can at Tampa School of Real Estate as well. And with all these levels, again, especially if you're in with a good brokerage who has that more hands-on training and support and one-to-one personalized type of attention. Not all brokerages have that, but there are a bunch of them out there that have a more hands-on type of new agent program. And maybe you're not a brand new agent, and in that case, it's finding a brokerage that has a business model that fits what you're trying to do. Because when we look at this chart here, this is very congruent across pretty much any real estate business. Even if we're talking about big conglomerates where they don't really have a personalized experience, clients will have a relationship with that company. It's just usually not a very positive one because it's usually a very, generic, not as personalized relationship. And because, the people are such an important component of this, and because it's such a big purchase, and because these agreements, not just the agreement that they're signing with us, but more importantly, the agreements to purchase and sell their house can be so complicated, they want somebody that they can trust. So you want to try to get more and more people into your pipeline. And then once you know these people, it's your job to follow up with them, to stay in touch with them, to build the relationship. Because just because you know somebody doesn't mean they're going to do business with you. Now, you don't need to be selling them on your services. You need to be selling them on you, on the idea that you are a real estate professional, if we're selling you at all. But one of the things that is always a present question in your client's mind will be, what's in it for me? What is in it for me? And that's how you want to frame your relationship with your client. What's in it for your client? What do they have to gain? Because you have a lot to gain. There's some big paydays that await the end of this journey with each of these clients. Tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars. We could sit here and do the commission math, but I'm sure all you guys tuning into the show probably already know that. If not, we've done episodes on commission before. Just search up our YouTube, our Facebook, check our Success Center on our website, or you can shoot us a text or give us a phone call, 813-333-2676. We've got advisors standing by here to help you better understand real estate any way it is that we can help you. But anyways, getting back to today's subject, and if you're looking for a course that we have that helps you understand concepts like this more, post-licensing. Your sales associate post-licensing, if you've got a real estate license and you didn't take post-licensing yet, you got to go take that course. If you've already taken post-licensing and you're looking for more to figure out how to grow your real estate business, we actually have some more courses in the works that we'll be releasing soon. But if you want more information on any of that stuff, call us 813-333-2676. But yeah, getting back to just a recap again, what is important to get agreements from your client is you got to have these prerequisites. You got to have number one. You've got to have number two. Because you don't have people, well, then who are you going to agree with? You don't have a relationship. Now, I'm not going to say you can't get an agreement. You might be able to bypass step two, but you shouldn't make your system to bypass step two. You might just have people that are at the ready, that are further down the pipeline for whatever reason. You just strike gold. But if you're counting on those chance situations rather than making your own luck, Because you see, when you focus on facilitating the relationship yourself, you're making your own luck. You're getting people to understand what they've got to do business with you because they have a relationship with you. And when we talk about agreements, we're going to take a quick break, but I want to dive into the specific agreements when you get to the stage here. Once you've got the people, once you've got the relationship with them, and now how do you now transition into getting an agreement with these potential clients? And again, it's not just about going straight for the contract. There's a lot of little agreements along the way, trial closes sometimes they're called. So we've got more to share on that, but we're going to take a quick commercial break. Stick with us. I'm John Carissimo. You're watching State of Real Estate. So you just got your real estate license. How can you jumpstart your real estate business? The number one thing you should do before you do anything else is post-licensing. Now look, this is already a requirement, so you're gonna have to do it anyways, but here's why you wanna do it early. The sooner you do post-licensing, the sooner you're gonna learn the real-world concepts in post-licensing that will help you create a business plan, that'll help you plan for your success in real estate. Post-licensing is all about real-world topics that are usable, that'll help you grow your real estate business. And at Tampa School of Real Estate, we have the best post-licensing courses around. Find out more about how post-licensing can help you jumpstart your real estate career. Go to postflorida.com. Have you been thinking about getting your Florida real estate license? Look, the process is probably easier than you think. We break it down step by step, how much it's going to cost, what it is that you need to do to get your Florida real estate license. Find out all of that and more at licencefl.com. Again, that's licencefl.com. Hello and welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. My name is John Carissimo, and the show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate, where this week we are talking about buyer agreements. Now, before we went on break, we talked about the two key prerequisite ingredients you almost always need, at least probably both of these. You always need at least one of these things, but you need people, pretty much always. You need an agreement. But before you can get to an agreement, you usually have to have a relationship. And it's that relationship that a lot of people try to bypass. They try to get people straight to an agreement. People, agreement, people, agreement, people, agreement. And in this day and age, that's not how really any business is done, because even the bigger organizations are much more focused on the individualized experience. There's a lot of big tech. I keep up with a lot of sales tech and marketing technology, and there's a lot in the works, and there has been for quite a few years now, to make personalized experiences at a higher level. Now, the level of experience it is that we provide as a real estate professional is light years beyond what technology can do right now. But if you want to be able to stay relevant, if you want to be able to be somebody that people look to, that line up for your advice, so you can bypass the relationship. And that's the thing. Let me correct you if you see agents where you think it's just easy, where wow, they're just getting deals, no problem. They just get leads and they get agreements. Wow, how do you get such good leads that get you agreements? Well, two ways you can go about this. You could just go by sheer numbers. If you're not going to concern yourself, if we're going to cut out this portion that is the relationship, if we try to take that out of here, this is what it's going to do to our pipeline. We're going to need way more people if we try to skip step 2, if we don't have a system or process in our business for step 2. Now, when we're talking about growing and scaling your business here, if you're just thinking in terms of, all right, well, relationships, in terms of like friends and like going to parties and cookouts and things like that, look, that's a great way to get your business to here. But if you want to take your business way up here into the stratosphere, that's where you've got to think bigger, and you've got to really think, and this will benefit you even on the smaller levels as well. but you've got to think about your professional relationship. Now, how can you get involved earlier on in their professional relationship, and how can you do this in an automated way where, let's take out all this red here because you don't want to delete the relationship. You can't afford to delete the relationship. But if, we're talking about scaling your business, there's only so much relationship it is that you could have if you're doing this all on a personal one-to-one type of basis. But if you take advantage, and I don't like calling this technology because technology will freak people out sometimes if they're not tech people. But look, I'm not talking about anything advanced. I'm just talking about the power of a video. I'm talking about the power of the internet, of a website, of email follow-up campaigns, of automated systems in your CRM that help you facilitate relationships. Because again, without the relationships, you're going to have far fewer agreements. So, if the name of the game is going to be earning agreements, and just like we're easing people into the idea of an agreement altogether through a relationship, and we're kind of easing them through the relationship, we want to do that again, the same thing here with the agreement. So ultimately what we are trying to get, and I want to put this way at the bottom here, is let's say if this is a buyer, well, really, we want a purchase and sale agreement. That is your agreement that your client will make to purchase a home and for a seller to sell the home. So we do want to get to that agreement, but a prerequisite is going to be our employment agreement. Now, there's a lot of real estate professionals out there, again, professionals that work off of implied agreements. And look, implied agreements, no matter which way you try to spin it, are not good for either party. Because when things are implied, it leaves things that are unsaid. It leaves things without knowing, what could be the possible outcome if this or that, or it just, you're working without parameters and boundaries, or where you might not even be on the same page as your client. So I would never recommend doing implied agreements with your client, especially when it's your employment agreement, because, if you want to make sure that the time it is that you're investing into your client will be rewarded, which it should be if you are providing a valuable service to your client, then you've got to set the boundaries, you've got to set the parameters, and doing that without having any actual agreement is a disservice to both your business and your client. So buyer brokerage agreements are not required by law, but in my opinion, essential to building a scalable real estate business. But notice how I left a lot of space here. Because you're not going to go right to a purchase and sale agreement. Just like you probably also aren't going to go right to a buyer brokerage agreement. I know agents that have tried that before, that they've tried to bypass the relationship step. They'll go right from people to try to get right to an agreement. They'll say, oh, you're a person that wants my service? Okay, well, even though you don't know anything about me, here's my agreement if you want to do business with me. And you're hitting them all the way, almost bottom of the list agreement when we're talking about the types of agreements. So, you might as well just be giving them a contract to buy a house, basically, at that point. So the relationship and building and facilitating that relationship leaves a lot of opportunity for mini agreements, or what oftentimes in a lot of cases are going to be called trial closes. That's a sales term that you'll see a lot about, test agreements basically. And what you're doing essentially, it's almost like you're taking temperature. And if we, back way up, we go way back to the beginning here and talk about some very early on agreements somebody might be making, is they might just be agreeing to give email. That might be all. That's if we go all the way back to the first agreement you might be asking for. It might be this person stumbling into your website, putting their email in on your website somewhere. They agreed to provide their email in exchange for some type of information. That is an agreement right there in and of itself. You've already got an agreement. Now, you're probably not ready to jump right to the big agreement or whatever big agreement, because you could very easily think of this also for sellers with listing agreements as opposed to buyers with buyer brokerage agreements. But they might agree to give their email and other contact info. They might agree to a meeting. They might agree to sharing info with a lender. So maybe you're trying to get them pre-approved and you say, hey, would you be okay if I shared your phone number with one of the mortgage brokers that I work with? They could give you a call and go over some of the different options and different loan programs and really help educate you on all the different options that are out there so we could go into this decision informed. Does that sound good to you? Oh yeah, that sounds great. I would absolutely agree to you sharing that. So again, these are all agreements. And when you get agreements, when you're starting to get yeses where people agree with you, where they're on the same page, that's going to move you closer to the sale. You know, we think about other agreements it is you could be making. You could be agreeing to a showing. We're talking about buyers. Maybe we're agreeing to different terms of the buyer brokerage. You know, there's this overall agreement it is that you're making, but there's probably all these little agreements it is that you've got to make along the way. If this were like, say, a listing agreement we're talking about, you might be agreeing to do so many open houses or to do so much to market the property. What are you agreeing to do for your buyer that's going to put them in a situation where they'll want to agree with you as well in the larger scale, larger capacity of, say, a buyer brokerage agreement, or again, if this were a seller, the listing agreement. Those are your employment contracts with your clients. And getting these people to agree to work with you formally is really going to set in, I don't want to say in stone because it's in paper, and you know, the contracts could always, you know, be manipulated to some degree. But having these agreements in paper, and look, it's not even about enforcing the contract. It's just simply getting to the point where we've had the discussions, where we're on the same page, and where we can communicate effectively about what we're trying to do together because we've outlined our agreement of working with each other. So it gives us, again, some boundaries. It gives us some information. It gives us some obligations. It gives both the client and the brokerage obligations. And again, there might be things that is you're agreeing to. You might agree to preview a property for somebody instead of show it. Hey, what I'd like to do is head out to the property, take a video of it, I'll send it over to you, I'll even FaceTime if you want, and if it looks like something that you'd want to see, you know, we'll get you down here and schedule an appointment. Maybe you're talking to an out-of-state client where you're going to be previewing properties for them. Getting them to agree to that will help get you on the road to getting to your actual agreements. They're going to get you paid. And so look, we're going to take one more break. But when we come back, I have the number one rule of selling for you, and it has to do with agreement. But we're going to take quick commercial breaks, so stick with us. I'm John Carissimo. You're watching State of Real Estate.
The most powerful tool to study for your real estate exam is the Question Simulator from Tampa School of Real Estate. We've used our years of experience in preparing students for the Florida Real Estate exam to bring you the most powerful exam study tool available. In the Question Simulator, you'll be able to go directly to a particular unit so you can focus on the sections where you need the most practice. We have also included the percentages of each unit so you know which units are the most important for your real estate exam. Every question will immediately give you detailed feedback, which is almost always more important than the question or the answer themselves. After completing all the questions in a particular unit, you can go through question by question and review any that you've gotten wrong. You could also print out a report at the end of each quiz. The Question Simulator from Tampa School of Real Estate is 100% mobile compatible, so you can practice with test questions anywhere you have your phone with you. Enroll now at questionsimulator.com and get ready to pass your exam.
Hello and welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. My name is John Kurtzman. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. And right before we went on break, we were talking, as today's subject is about agreements and how we need prerequisites of people and relationships to get to agreements. And then we touched on all the mini trial close, mini agreements that we're using to get to the bigger agreement. And then I told you we've got the number one rule of selling that is related to agreements. And the number one rule of selling, especially when what you need is an agreement, is to agree. Now, this will make you think sometimes, because there's going to be times where you don't agree. And so how do you agree when you don't agree? Well, you find a way to agree. Because when you could find a way, when you get creative in finding ways to agree, agreements will happen. If you do not seek out ways to make agreements happen, to get people to agree with you, and look, it's not about getting them to agree with you, it's you finding the people who you can agree with. You know, that's the reality of what you're doing with the real estate business. There's millions of people out there. So if you look at the stats for I think last time they did like the census or something like that, it was like 22 million people or 23 million people, something like that in Florida. I looked at some Google stats the other day because they keep tabs for like advertisers and things like that. There's like 33 million people in Florida. That's just Florida. There's like 300 something million people in the United States. There's 7 billion people in the planet. And all these people need somewhere to live. They need shelter, and you could help them get into that shelter. But if you don't agree with them, you're not going to do business with them. If you don't agree with them, you're not going to do business with them. So don't make it about them agreeing with you. Figure out what you can do to get agreement with people. You know, you define out the type of client it is that you're seeking out, and you're building out this pipeline. And as you grow and scale your business, you can kind of be more selective in, the type of client it is that you're targeting. But if you're not agreeing with anybody, if you refuse to agree with people, if you find some way somehow to always disagree, and if you're that type of person, you know who you are. I could be that type of person as well. But here's the thing, because I know I could be that type of person who could always find a way to disagree, or could always point something out that's wrong, or could always point out some sort of fault, or that you maybe been called critical or anything like that, or even pessimistic. I like to consider myself an optimistic person, but saying all this stuff out loud is like, am I really? But if you could be in the situation where you could easily find fault, if you figure out how to make that 180 shift in your thinking, your mind is powerful enough to find creative ways to get to an agreement. So if you could find yourself sometimes burying yourself in like the pessimism or all the reasons why something can't happen, when you're shown the right path and you embrace what could happen, and then start thinking of how do you make things possible rather than thinking of why they're impossible? Making that shift in your thinking, it's unreal, the potential and possibilities that are out there, especially with something like a real estate license. And to share you a little bit more on that topic, on that subject, before real estate, I had ran other businesses as well. But I've not been as successful in any other field as I've been with real estate. And, part of the reason why is, so number one, everybody needs it. We're selling something that literally every single person needs, some form of shelter. And that's what we have licenses to sell, is shelter. So that's huge. Number one, there's a huge demand for what it is that we have to sell. And also, the way we sell it is very different than your used car salesman type of approach, because we're here almost more so to be an advisor rather than a salesperson. Yes, it is still sales. But a good sales professional is not necessarily somebody who's pushy or is manipulative or anything like that, but just someone who is able to help people get the job done. And a lot of times it's just helping people understand how to make what seems impossible possible. And so if you find ways to agree, for example, somebody might say, oh, I'm not able to buy a home because I don't have good enough credit. Hey, I completely understand. That makes a lot of sense. The credit was something that held me back a lot for a good portion of my life. So I understand completely where you're coming from. But what if I told you, insert transition into what's possible? It's that easy. We call that the agree, duplicate, transition. You agree. Duplicate what the experience is. And we're not talking about like lying and making things up. I'll be honest with you. There's a good part of my life where I struggled with credit issues. So I'm with you. Most people are. So being able to find those ways to agree, to find the common ground. That's the way a lot of people present this a lot of times, is finding common ground. When you're able to find common ground, when you're able to find the ways to agree, you're moving yourself closer to agreement. And you want to put yourself into agreement as much as possible. And that is why that is the number one rule of selling, is to agree. Especially when your goal is to get an agreement. I mean, literally, the goal is right there in front of you. You need an agreement. What do we do to get an agreement? Well, we need to agree. And you might say, well, they need to agree too. Well, yeah, of course, they need to agree. But remember, you can only change yourself. You only have full control over yourself. And at some point, there might be some clients that you don't agree with, and that you don't want to agree with, and that you don't have to agree with, because this is your business. And literally everybody on this planet needs what we have to sell. So there's plenty of other fish in the sea, as they like to say, or whatever little phrase it is that you want to think of. And so that's where it comes back to your business of now, okay, how do I attract more of the people that I would agree with more easily? Maybe if you're a more premium service, you're trying to seek out the people who would agree with the more premium offering. Would it make the most sense to you if you're the super luxury premium realtor to go try to cold call for sub owners? Don't get me wrong, that might be a great way to get listings, is cold calling for sub owners. But are you going to agree with them if they're like a super budget conscious, low price point property, and the type of clients it is that you're after, that you're excited about, that you want to work with, are luxury properties with high price points? You're just not going to agree with them. You're putting yourself in a situation where you're not going to agree with their clients. And here's the thing, there's realtors out there that would be much more likely to just naturally agree with them. And they're going to be the better fit. There's enough business for all of us out there. There's so much business to be had. I mean, you look at the stats. I think there's like 300,000 people with a real estate license. You might say, oh my God, 300,000 people with a real estate license. And granted, most of these people are doing this part-time, but let's actually pull out the calculator here. Let's get the calculator. And if there's 33 million people in Florida now, and actually I always mess this up. You don't have to be good at math to be good at real estate. So if there's 300,000 people with a real estate license, and there is 33 million people in Florida. Hopefully I got the order right on this. No, I did have it right the first time. So yeah, 33 million people in Florida. And we've got 300,000 people with a real estate license. That's 110 people for each real estate licensee. If your average commission on these 110 people is $10,000, that's $1.1 million. Now, if they're doing this every 5 to 7 years and you're staying on top of them every 5 to 7 years, let's say that's 5 years. If we split up all the business equally, that's $220,000. So there's not a lot of real estate licensees out there because most of these real estate licensees are not full-time realtors. They're maybe just having their license for referrals. They might not be doing anything with their license. And so if we, take, let's say there's, let's say like 10% of the people getting 90% of the business, what does that look like? How much money are they maybe making? Well, if we've got 33 million people, and let's say they're getting 90% of the business, so out of these 33 million, they're really only getting about 29,700,000 people. But now, on that 700 people, if we split that up across 10% of the licensees, so if we said there's 300,000 licensees, that'd be 30,000 licensees. You might say, wow, there's 30,000 licensees that are doing big numbers. And look, 990 doing almost 1,000 deals, that's a lot. A good high producing team is maybe doing 100 to 200. So talking about 990, that's a lot of business. And so there's all levels of success. There's agents closing hundreds of properties a year. There's agents that might not close anything or maybe just doing one deal. But my point I'm trying to make here is there's so much business to be had. Because on those 990 deals, let's say that, again, these are $10,000 commissions. It's $9.9 million. You spread that out across 5 years because the average person moves every 5 to 7 years. That's $2 million a year. Can that be done? Definitely. So the agent I was just talking to that's going to double his business, he's been doubling his business every year, and he wants to double from $500,000 in gross commission to $1 million in gross commission. And he's just pretty much a one-person operation. I think he uses a transaction coordinator to help with closing his deals. But otherwise, he's doing the showings, he's negotiating the contract, he doesn't have a real estate team, and he's on track. I believe he's going to do it. I mean, it's still early in the year, but I'm sure he will because he's been consistently doubling his business every year. It's $1 million in gross commission. That means commission is being paid to you. It's unreal how much money you can make in real estate when you really embrace these three things. You got to get people. You're not going to get to $1 million in sales in a year without people to sell to. You got to have relationships with those people and then getting to agreements with them. So look, that's about all the time we've got for today. I want to thank you for tuning in, and I hope this information has been beneficial to help you better understand how to grow and scale your real estate business so you could build a more successful real estate career, because that's what we're on a mission to help you do here at the Tampa School of Real Estate. We do these live streams every week to help you better understand how to grow your real estate business. So if you're not subscribed yet, hit that bell icon so you get notifications whenever it is we go live, or if you're watching on our website, drop in your email. And if you want to put your email in, go to tampaschoolofrealestate.com. Put in your email, and we'll send you emails every time it is that we have new information to help you better understand how to build a business in real estate. That's kind of what we do here. We help people launch and build and take their real estate careers to the next level. There's a lot more that goes into it than just Tampa School of Real Estate, but we're proud of every part we could play in this process, no matter how minimal it might be, whether it's just getting your exam passed or getting your post-licensing done so you're knowing the basics of your real estate business, or maybe you're ready to take it to the next level and get your broker license. Any way we could help you, call us 813-333-2676. You could also shoot us a text or find out more information online at tampaschool.com. That's tampaschool.com. It's about all the time we have for today. I want to thank you for tuning in. We'll be back on Wednesday for Ask the Instructor. If you'd like today's episode and you want to see more topics on buyers and agreements and contracts and sales, hit that thumbs up button for us. But other than that, that is all the time we have for today. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.
If you're looking to get in on the real estate action that's going on in Tampa right now, we're who you need to talk to. We can help you get your real estate license, start your real estate career. We're here to assist you for the life of your real estate career. Give us a call. Phone number is 813-928-0106, or check us out online at tampaschool.com. Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com.
They say
If you're enjoying the show today, which I'm sure you are, be sure to hit like, subscribe, post your comments, share with your friends and family. Thank you guys so much for watching.
You are watching
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate. Are you studying for your Florida real estate exam? If you are, you need to check out our Pass First Try strategy. You're going to love this. It's 4 steps that we break down the process to study for your Florida real estate exam. So you're set up to pass your Florida real estate exam because that's what you're studying for, right? To pass your exam. It's 4 steps. Number 1, you learn the information. You've got to learn this to be able to pass the exam, but it doesn't stop at learning. Step 2, you've got to reinforce the basic, simple, key concepts. As you learn this information, keep reviewing the simple things. You don't need to know everything, but you got to review these basic key concepts. Step 3, you've got to test your knowledge. The exam's going to test your knowledge, so if you don't test your knowledge in advance, you won't find out if you know what you think you know until you take the exam. And then step 4 is be confident and prepared, because even if you know this material, you need to be confident that you know the material. Check out the full strategy at PassFirstTry.com. That's PassFirstTry.com.